At exactly 4:03 p.m. on Friday, the moment everyone mentally checks out for the weekend, my boss, Adam, appeared in my doorway with the kind of smug smile you only see on people who enjoy causing pain. He tapped the side of my cubicle like he was delivering good news. "Liv," he said, tossing a thin file onto my desk. "You're being transferred Monday." Just like that. No explanation. No transition period. A few coworkers froze mid-pack, eyes flicking between us. Even the office printer seemed to pause. Transferred to where was the real blow. I opened the file and there it was in cold, sharp font. Northside branch. Effective immediately. My stomach dropped. Everyone in the company knew Northside was shutting down in 30 days. The staff had already received notice. The clients had been informed inventory inspections were scheduled. It wasn't a transfer. It was a burial. Adam leaned against my desk, arms crossed, enjoying every second. "Have fun," he added with a laugh too loud for the almost empty office. "Think of it as career exploration." Another chuckle. You'd think they were giving me a trip to Italy, not sending me to manage a dying location. I forced my voice to remain calm. "Northside is closing." He shrugged as if the idea had never occurred to him. "That's above my pay grade." HR signed off. "You start Monday." I knew better. Nothing happened in our region without Adam's fingerprints on it. This was punishment. His retaliation for what happened at last month's strategy meeting when I questioned the decision to cut community lending programs. I'd brought data, case studies, and projections. He'd brought ego, and ego always hits back. Adam leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Maybe you'll pick up some new skills while winding things down." He winked. My hands tightened around the file. I wanted to say something, anything, but every word I thought of would have cost me my job by Monday morning, so I swallowed it. He straightened, smoothing the front of his perfectly pressed shirt. "Enjoy your weekend." He walked away without looking back. The office fell silent except for the clicking of keyboards no one was really typing on. A few coworkers gave me sympathetic looks, the kind you give someone who just learned their vacation flight was canceled. My phone buzzed on my desk. A text from Maya, my closest friend at work. "Are you okay?" Was I? No, but I also wasn't surprised. Because what Adam didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had seen this coming weeks ago, and I had already started preparing. By the time I stepped out into the parking garage, the sky had turned heavy and dark, the kind of late afternoon storm that made you question whether the sun had ever existed. The first raindrop hit before I even reached my car. I sat behind the wheel, gripping the steering wheel as the rain hammered against the windshield. 60-hour weeks. Holidays spent in the office, covering for every mistake that wasn't mine. Training new hires who later leapfrogged past me, and now I was being tossed aside like broken office furniture. But under all the anger, there was something else. A spark. Because I wasn't going to Northside blind, I wasn't going unprepared. And I wasn't going down quietly. I turned the key. Monday would be interesting. Northside sat on the edge of the old industrial district, once busy, now forgotten. I pulled into the cracked parking lot at 8:04 a.m., the silence almost eerie. The sign on the building flickered weakly, one light short of going dark completely. Inside, the branch felt like stepping into a time capsule. Carpet worn thin, faded posters, computers that still had sticker residue from early 2000s training programs. 5 employees looked up as I walked in with a single box of belongings. Their expressions ranged from confused to exhausted. None of them had been told someone new was coming. Wonderful. A woman in her 50s approached me first. Her name tag read, Helen. 16 years with the company, according to her HR profile? Yes, I had already checked. "You must be Liv," she said. "Didn't know they were sending a new manager." "Neither did I admitted. She sighed and motioned toward the small glass-walled office. "Well, that's yours, for whatever that's worth." The office held nothing but outdated manuals, empty drawers, and a crooked clock stuck at 11:52. I closed the door behind me and exhaled. This branch wasn't dying. It had been strangled. Budget cuts. No outreach support. 0 updates for years. Exactly the kind of place Adam wanted me to fail, but he had no idea what I already knew. No idea what I had been tracking. no idea what was about to happen. Because 72 hours earlier, while Adam was busy planning my professional funeral, I discovered something that changed everything. A new city development plan. A rezoning proposal. A flood of new businesses moving into the district. And Northside, this forgotten, neglected branch, sat right at the center of it. The company had missed it. Adam had missed it. But I hadn't. I looked at the dusty office, the tired employees, the dying branch. And I smiled. Monday would be fun. When I stepped out of my tiny glass office for the first time that morning, the 5 Northside employees were gathered near the break room, whispering in that exhausted, hopeless way people do when they've accepted their fate. I recognized the look. I had worn it myself after hearing Adam's "have fun." Only difference? Mine had burned off by now. Helen approached me again, her voice soft. "Liv, I'm not sure what they told you, but there's not much to manage here. We're just processing closures until the day they lock the doors." Behind her, the others nodded. Ruben, the loan officer with kind eyes but a defeated slouch. Tanya, the teller who looked too young to have already learned disappointment so well. Max, the part-time admin juggling school and work. And Irene, who had been here longer than anyone, 21 years, and whose face showed that she had watched this branch slowly starve under corporate decisions made hundreds of miles away. "I know," I said gently. "I'm not here to pretend this place isn't closing." They exchanged glances, relief mixed with resignation. "But," I continued, "I am here to understand what went wrong." Ruben let out a short laugh. "What went wrong? Everything. No budget, no upgrades, no approval authority. We've been forgotten. And headquarters hasn't responded to a single request since March," Irene added. "I tried reaching them about the redevelopment in the industrial district. Never heard back." My pulse ticked up. "Redevelopment?" She frowned. "You don't know?" I shook my head slowly, though I knew exactly what she was talking about. I just needed to hear it from inside the branch to confirm what I'd uncovered. "City bought out the old factories," she explained. "They're converting them into warehouses, small business spaces, tech startups. Hundreds of them. It's the biggest project the district's seen in decades." My heart thudded once, hard. Max added, "Most of them are opening in the next few months. Some already have. But the company never gave us approval to reach out. Said it wasn't in alignment with strategic goals." Strategic goals. Adam's goals. I kept my face neutral, though inside something clicked sharply into place. Northside wasn't dying because the community didn't need it. Northside was dying because someone wanted it to die. I turned back toward my office. "I need 10 minutes, I said. Then, can everyone meet me in the small conference room?" They all exchanged confused looks, but nodded. Inside my office, I opened the drawer where I'd quietly slid my folder that morning. The folder Adam tossed at me had contained nothing useful. But my folder? My folder contained the reason Monday wouldn't go the way he expected. 3 weeks earlier, long before Adam announced my transfer, I'd overheard something that made my instincts flare. 2 managers chatting after hours, unaware that I was still in the office. "Northside is next on Adam's list. He'll close it by Q2. He wants to show corporate he can cut underperforming locations. He already reassigned their business accounts to Central Branch." That night, I started digging. Public records, city planning documents, rezoning proposals, business license applications. And the deeper I went, the clearer the pattern became. Northside wasn't positioned in a dying area. It was positioned in an emerging gold mine. Headquarters had missed it, or ignored it, or didn't care. But I cared. I pulled out the map I'd printed and unfolded it across the desk. Red dots marked every new business permit filed in the last 12 months. The cluster around Northside was almost glowing. If this branch had been given even a fraction of the support allocated to the wealthier districts, it wouldn't be closing. It would be expanding. I stared at the map until my heartbeat steadied. Until the anger sharpened into something usable, I gathered the papers and stepped into the hallway. The conference room was small, the kind with a table too big for the space and chairs collected from 3 different decades. The team sat waiting, guarded but curious. I placed the map in the center of the table. "This," I began, Is everything headquarters told you didn't exist? Their eyes followed the red clusters. Helen blinked. Are these all new businesses? Filed within the last year, I confirmed. Most within the past 4 months, and almost all within a 1-mile radius of this branch. Reuben leaned forward. But we weren't approved to pursue commercial accounts. I know, I said quietly. But that wasn't because there was no opportunity. It was because someone didn't want this branch to have it. The room fell still. Very still. I let the moment breathe. Then, I'm not asking you to believe in miracles. I'm asking you to believe in facts. This branch didn't fail. It was strangled. Their expressions shifted. Confusion toward anger, anger toward something that looked dangerously like hope. Headquarters thinks this place is already dead, I continued. And Adam... I paused, swallowing the bitterness. Adam thinks transferring me here is a clean way to bury 2 problems at once. Tanya whispered. So what do we do? I looked at each of them. Really looked. I don't know if we can save this branch, I admitted honestly. But I do know this. I didn't come here to sit quietly and watch a place with this much potential die without a fight. A long silence followed. Then Irene's voice, steady and unexpectedly firm. What do you need from us? In that moment, right there in a cramped conference room inside a forgotten branch, I felt the spark fully ignite. First, I said, pulling out my notebook, we gather information. Everything headquarters ignored. Everything they suppressed. We're going to build a picture they can't pretend not to see. Reuben smiled faintly for the first time. You're serious? I nodded. Very. Because I hadn't just come to Northside to survive. I'd come to expose the truth. And the clock was already ticking. By Tuesday morning, the weight of what we were doing began to settle over the branch like an invisible fog. Nothing was said outright, but every glance carried the same question. Are we really doing this? I arrived 15 minutes before opening. The parking lot was empty except for Reuben's car. He was always early, and a white sedan I didn't recognize. At first, I ignored it, but something about the way it was angled toward the building made me slow down. Inside, Reuben was in the lobby, arms folded, face tight. You've got a visitor, he said. Been waiting since 8:15. My stomach tightened. Who? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because when I stepped behind the teller counter and saw the man leaning casually against the customer desk, my jaw clenched. Adam. He greeted me with a smile that didn't touch his eyes. Morning, Liv. What was he doing here? He hated visiting branches unless cameras were involved. We weren't expecting you, I said evenly. Thought I'd check in, see how my transfer project is settling in. He looked around with exaggerated slowness. Charming little place. Shame it's closing. Every word was a needle. Reuben excused himself quickly, and I couldn't blame him. Adam moved closer. You look tired, Liv. Rough first day? Busy, I replied. A lot to learn. Oh, I'm sure. His voice dipped. I just hope you're focusing on the right things. My pulse ticked up. Meaning? His lips curved in that familiar, chilling smirk. Just heard a strange rumor. Something about maps? Discussions about business outreach? His eyes locked onto mine. Surely that's not happening. Wouldn't want anyone thinking Northside is attempting new initiatives. That would be inappropriate. So someone had already said something. I kept my expression neutral. We're preparing closure documentation. Good, he said, because headquarters is allergic to surprises. He stepped even closer. And Liv, I'd hate to hear you were giving the staff false hope. They've accepted the end. Don't confuse them. Before I could respond, he turned toward the door. Have a wonderful week. He called over his shoulder, voice dripping with mock sweetness. Don't make trouble. The moment he walked out, I sank into the nearest chair. That was our warning. But not the kind he thought he was giving. It was confirmation. He was nervous. He knew we'd found something. He just didn't know how much. At 9:02 a.m., before the branch officially opened, the team gathered in the break room. No one needed an explanation. They'd all seen Adam leave. I placed both hands on the table to steady myself. We need to be careful. Really careful. Someone is feeding him information. Max swallowed. One of us? Maybe. Or someone downtown picked up on our activity. Doesn't matter which. We stay quiet. We stay smart. We don't use internal emails for anything related to this. Tanya nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. My friend at Central Branch said they've been told to flag any unusual queries coming from Northside. So Adam was tightening the net. Expected, but not enough to stop us. I pulled out the map and placed it on the table. We keep going, but from now on, everything we do has to leave no digital trail. Their eyes followed me. I continued. Today, I want us to start gathering first-hand information. Not projections, not assumptions. Real voices from the community. If we can document what these businesses need and how much revenue they could bring, we can build a case no one can ignore. Ruben frowned. Headquarters won't let us meet with businesses. I know. I took a breath. Which means we don't meet them as representatives. We meet them as listeners. It wasn't technically against any rule. Yet. The district is opening 2 warehouses this week, Ruben offered. There'll be contractors, vendors, small business teams. We could talk to them without mentioning the bank. I can stop by after my shift, Tanya added. My cousin's moving his startup into the renovated textile building. Good, I said. The more authentic feedback we gather, the stronger our case. And just like that, for the first time since Monday, the room shifted from fear to purpose. The rest of the day moved in small, meaningful steps. At noon, 2 elderly customers came in for account closures. Irene offered them water, walked them through everything gently. When they left, she turned to me, eyes shining with something like guilt. They're leaving because they think this branch doesn't matter, she whispered. But it does. It always did. I put a hand on her arm. Then let's prove it. She nodded at 3 p.m. While I was reviewing ancient loan files, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Be careful. He's watching more closely than you think. My mouth went dry. I looked around the quiet branch, half expecting someone to be lurking in the corner. Was it a threat? A warning? From who? I didn't show the message to the team. Not yet. They were already wound tight. Instead, I filed it away mentally. Another crack in the system. Another clue. Someone inside the company wanted me to succeed, or wanted Adam to fail. Either way, the timing wasn't accidental. When the last customer left at 5:01 p.m., the team and I gathered again. Ruben placed a notebook on the table. 6 businesses I spoke with today say they're looking for a bank closer to the district. Tanya added 2 pages of notes from her cousin's building. Helen had printed out 3 years of ignored upgrade requests. And Max had pulled together a list of every rejected marketing proposal. None of it was dramatic, but all of it was damning. I looked at the pile of evidence, small but growing. Proof of neglect, proof of need, proof of potential. This, I said quietly, is how we start. No one spoke. They didn't need to, because every person in that room felt the same thing I did. We were standing at the edge of something bigger than any of us had expected. And if Adam wanted a quiet, orderly closure, he'd picked the wrong branch and the wrong woman to bury. By Thursday morning, the air inside Northside felt different. Charged, like the pause before a storm hits. Not loud, not obvious, but tense enough that every small noise seemed sharper. We'd spent the past 2 days gathering evidence, talking to local businesses discreetly, compiling every record of ignored requests and missed opportunities. The pile was growing, too slowly but steadily, and apparently someone noticed. At 9:18 a.m., as Tanya tried logging into her computer, she suddenly went still. Liv? She called out, voice tight. I walked over. What's wrong? She stepped aside. Her screen displayed a blinking message. Access level restricted contact regional management. My stomach tightened. Try again. She did. Same message. Ruben tried next. Same result. Max. Same. I felt heat rise behind my ribs. Let me check mine. When I entered my credentials, a new message appeared. This account has been flagged for system review. That wasn't a malfunction that was targeted. Helen appeared at my side. They've restricted us, she whispered. Someone manually changed our permissions. No need to guess who I walked into my tiny glass office, closed the door, and called IT. After 20 minutes of being bounced between departments, someone finally admitted quietly, "There was a request from your regional executive system limitations for Northside are part of the closure acceleration process." Closure acceleration? I repeated, pulse spiking. Our closure is scheduled for 30 days from now. A pause, then carefully, "Not anymore." My stomach dropped. "Check your email," the technician added, then hung up before I could respond. I opened my inbox. There it was. Subject: Northside Branch. Transition update. From Adam Sterling. Time 9:03 a.m. I clicked it. Effective immediately, Northside operations will be expedited. Staff should focus exclusively on closure tasks. Any non-essential activities are prohibited. Compliance review scheduled for Monday. Inventory audit Sunday, 8 a.m. mandatory. All account and loan processing capabilities will remain disabled until further notice. A. Sterling. My vision tunneled for a moment. He wasn't just limiting us. He was cutting off our ability to function entirely. He wanted to eliminate any trace of what we'd been doing. I stepped out into the lobby, the team watching me anxiously. "Well?" Tanya asked. I exhaled slowly. "They accelerated the closure." Ruben swore under his breath. Irene sank into a chair. "He's trying to erase everything before we can present it." Max looked between us. "So, what now? We can't process anything. We can't open new accounts. We can't run reports. We can't even print," Helen added, defeated. I felt the weight of 5 pairs of eyes waiting for me to tell them this wasn't the end. The truth? Part of me wanted to say it was, that we had tried, that this was bigger than us. But then I thought about the redevelopment district, the business owners who said no bank had ever listened. The years this branch had been dismissed, ignored, mistreated. I took a breath. "We pivot." They stared at me, stunned. "How?" Ruben asked. "We have no systems." "You don't need systems to gather the truth," I said. "And you don't need internal access to show the company the opportunity they're ignoring." Tanya leaned forward. "What are you saying?" I pulled the map from my office, spreading it across the table again. "If Adam wants to erase us from the system, then we build a case outside the system." They exchanged looks. Fear, hope, disbelief mixing into something electric. "What does that mean exactly?" Helen asked quietly. "It means we document everything manually," I said. "Every business we spoke to, every opportunity, every instance of ignored support requests, every dollar of potential revenue that could be generated if the branch stayed open." "And then?" Max asked. "And then," I continued, "we bring it directly to the people who outrank Adam." A long silence followed. Then Ruben's eyebrows shot up. "You want to go to corporate leadership? Without going through regional?" "Yes," I said, "because regional isn't just blocking us. He's actively sabotaging us." "But Adam has allies," Irene whispered. "People who trust him. People who won't want to hear this." "That's why we bring evidence," I replied. "Not opinions, not emotions. Evidence no one can ignore." They looked at the pile of notes on the break room table. Scribbled pages, printed requests, handwritten statements from business owners. And slowly, one by one, I watched something shift. Determination. Quiet but unshakable, Ruben nodded first. "Okay, I'm in." Tanya followed. "Me too." Helen straightened her shoulders. "Tell us what to do." I took a breath, grounding myself in the moment. "Today," I said, "we organize everything we have. Tomorrow we gather more, carefully, and Sunday morning we finalize our case." "And then?" Max asked. I looked him directly in the eye. "Then we fight." When the branch closed at 5 o'clock, I stayed behind alone. The others had offered to stay, but they needed rest. I needed quiet. I sat at the old wooden desk, papers spread everywhere, rain tapping against the window outside. And then my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. "He knows more than you think. Be ready." No name, no explanation. A cold weight settled in my stomach. Was it a warning? Or a threat? I didn't know, but either way, one thing was clear. The clock was running out, and Adam wasn't done yet. Sunday morning, the air felt unnaturally still, as if the city itself knew something was about to happen. I arrived at the branch just before 7:50 a.m., 10 minutes early for the mandatory inventory Adam scheduled. The parking lot was empty except for 3 cars, Helen's, Ruben's, and a sleek black sedan. I recognized instantly Adam was already here. Inside, the branch lights were off except for the faint glow from the lobby. Adam stood near the counter, arms crossed, tapping his foot impatiently. "You're late," he said. "I'm early," I corrected. He smirked. "Time is relative when your branch is about to die." I didn't react. His goal was to provoke, but I couldn't afford to give him any emotional ammunition. The team arrived one by one, their faces tight, exhausted, but strangely steady. We began the inventory silently, counting pens, logging equipment, documenting ancient machines that should have been replaced years ago. At 8:37 a.m., Adam cleared his throat loudly. "Before you go any further," he announced, "I'll need your company laptops, badges, and access cards. They are no longer required." Helen froze mid-step. Tanya's hands shook. I stepped forward. The notice said after inventory. He waved me off. "Plans changed. Compliance wants everything now. Effective immediately, this branch is closed." The words hit like a physical blow. It wasn't supposed to happen until the end of the day. But I saw something in his eyes, a flicker of anticipation. He wasn't just closing us early. He wanted to stop what we were about to do. He sensed something was happening. He just didn't know what. Yet I signaled quietly to the team. "Give him what he wants. Don't fight. Don't reveal the panic." We handed over badges and devices. What Adam didn't know? We had already backed up everything externally. Every document, every interview, every ignored request, every financial projection, all neatly compiled in a physical binder and a private drive. When the last badge was on the counter, Adam exhaled in satisfaction. "Finally," he said, "we can all move on with our lives." I glanced at the clock, 10:22 a.m., 3 hours until the city's redevelopment briefing at the District Plaza. 3 hours until corporate leadership would unknowingly walk into the best ambush of my career. We left the branch together, silent until we reached our cars. That's when Ruben spoke. "What if he's right?" he asked quietly. "What if none of this matters? What if they don't care?" "They might not," I said honestly, "but we're not doing this to guarantee a win. We're doing it so the truth is impossible to bury." Helen placed a hand on my arm. "Then let's go make it impossible." By 3 p.m., River District Plaza was packed. Business owners, contractors, journalists, city officials. The smell of roasted coffee from the food trucks drifted through the air. And at the front of the crowd, just as I hoped, stood 2 members of corporate leadership. Elaine Ward, Director of Operations, and Charles Wainwright, Chief Financial Officer. The perfect audience. The mayor stepped up to the microphone, beginning her speech about revitalization and small business growth. As she spoke, she gestured toward the crowd, and toward the cluster of business owners we'd helped this week. "These new ventures," she said proudly, "represent the future of our city." Charles nodded approvingly. Exactly what I needed. As the applause rose, I approached the edge of the stage. A security guard tried to stop me, but the mayor recognized me. Tanya's cousin had introduced us earlier. "It's okay," she said. "She's one of the people who's been helping our entrepreneurs." That got Elaine's attention. She stepped down, smiling politely. "I'm sorry. Who are you exactly?" I handed her the binder. "My name is Liv Carver. Until this morning, I was the manager of Northside Branch." Elaine blinked. "Northside? Isn't that the location scheduled for closure?" "It was," I replied, "but not because it was unprofitable." Charles, hearing this, turned toward us. "What do you mean?" I opened the binder to the first page, a map of the district. Then the testimonies. The numbers, the rejected proposals, the ignored requests, the potential revenue, all meticulously documented. I kept my voice calm. "Your regional executive has been filtering information, suppressing opportunities. Accelerating closures without proper review. This community wasn't failing. It was being abandoned. Elaine flipped through the pages, her expression tightening with every turn. Charles frowned deeply. "And you're certain these numbers are accurate?" I handed him the flash drive. "Everything is backed up. Verified, and dozens of businesses here are willing to confirm it." As if on cue, several business owners approached. People we had met, spoken to, listened to. They spoke over one another, eager. She helped us set up accounts. She listened when no one else did. They told us the branch didn't support small businesses. I guess they didn't want to. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. And then, behind the cluster of people, I saw him. Adam. His face drained of all color. He pushed through the crowd, voice sharp. "This is nonsense. Unauthorized outreach. You're all being manipulated." Elaine held up a hand. "Enough." Her voice cut through the air like a blade. "We will address this internally immediately." Adam opened his mouth, but froze, because Charles was staring at him like he had already been found guilty. By 7:40 p.m., a company-wide email went out. "Effective immediately, Regional Executive Adam Sterling is placed on administrative leave pending investigation." A second line followed. "Northside branch closure has been suspended until further review." I read it twice before showing the team, who erupted into disbelief, laughter, and tears all at once. But the email that hit me hardest came at 8:12 p.m. from Elaine Ward. Subject: Opportunity Live. "After reviewing your findings, we would like to invite you to interview for a position overseeing community expansion initiatives. If you accept, you may bring your team. Elaine." I stared at the message, overwhelmed. We hadn't just saved a branch. We'd changed something much bigger.